Good evening. We have a public hearing, Monday, February 13th, 2023. I'd like to call to order the public hearing. This public hearing is being held pursuant to Section 465 of the Local Government Act. All members of the public will be given a reasonable time to be heard or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the bylaw that is the subject of this hearing. All information, correspondence, petitions, or reports that have been received by noon today concerning the subject bylaw have been circulated to council and are available to the public as part of the meeting package. Staff will provide their report, followed by an opportunity for the applicant to speak. Members of the public who have pre-registered to speak will be and have been added to the speakers list in the order that requests were received. Those pre-registered will be provided the opportunity for public comment according to the order of the speakers list, followed by comment from those who have not pre-registered. Anyone who has not pre-registered can still attend council chambers and wait to speak following those on the speakers list, or alternatively can electronically participate by calling the conference line at 778-907-2071 and entering meeting ID 506-489-9374 and passcode 485186. Speakers will be asked to state their name and civic address. Please note that all representations, whether written, verbal, or electronic, are available to the public for viewing as part of the public record. Remarks will be limited to 5 minutes per speaker and should include all of the relevant information in their presentation. Further opportunity will be afforded to all members of the public to speak a second or third time with new information only once all persons have had an opportunity to speak. Council may ask questions of staff, the applicant, and the public, but once the public hearing is over, no new information can be received. Council debate on the bylaw will take place during the regular council meeting following the conclusion of the public hearing. At that time, any questions of staff will be for clarification purposes only. The corporate officer will now provide information on the notice of this public hearing.
Thanks, Mayor Holmes. So notice that the public hearing was given by posting on the municipal notice board, the website, and in the Summerland review issues of February 2nd and 9th. In addition, 24 letters were mailed to property owners on January 27th.
Okay, thank you. And we've received no correspondence. So I'll ask our planner, Shannon Toohey, to present the bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. The district received an official community plan amendment and rezoning application to facilitate a 4-lot subdivision at the named property of 12010 Lakeshore Drive South. Do we have the presentation? Thank you. Is this going to work? The subject property is zoned medium lot, RSD1, and is designated in the OCP as low density residential. With a proposed change to the OCP to low density residential intensification to allow an RSD1I, which is residential single detached intensive designation. I don't know if this is working, Greg. Thank you. That's the wrong one. Sorry, the Lakeshore Drive, please, Greg.
There's 2 Lakeshore Drives.
Oh, the other one. Oh, there we go. Thank you, Greg.
Excellent.
Is this working?
No, good. Excellent. That's good.
Yeah, this one's not working. Thank you. The clicker's not working. Thank you. All right. The applicant is proposing that to accommodate a 4-lot subdivision, the official community plan be amended from low density to low density intensification. With this rezoning from RSD 1I, residential single detached intensive zone can be achieved. Illustrated on the subdivision site plan as seen, in order to achieve the 4 lots, lots 1 to 3 are to be rezoned to the intensification designation, with lot 4 remaining the larger of the lots supporting the RSD1 zone. The low density residential intensification designation is intended to accommodate infill development within mature neighbourhoods that have existing infrastructure. The OCP encourages the placement of these low density intensifications to be on fully serviced sites, which the one in the application is. The application seeks to rezone 3 of the 4 lots from the RSD1 to the RSD1I intensive zone. The intensive zone provides a zone that accommodates redevelopments of single detached housing on smaller urban lots that provide full urban services. This zone is intended to create infill opportunities. To allow for a lot width reduction from the 12 to 9 metres, this intensification zone does require an amenity contribution of $5,000 per lot. This money goes towards parks, culture, recreation, and/or our fire department, of which the applicant is fully aware. To date, the applicant has not submitted any designs for any dwellings. The proposed lots are planned to be provided for his 4 children if the application is approved. The intent of our Lower Town strategic plan is to provide strategic planning directions for the future development and ongoing enhancement of the area. Lower Town promotes a mix of residential, recreational, and community uses. The OCP strives to focus development to create compact and complete communities within our urban growth boundary. This proposal is close to amenities, schools, and highway connections. Each lot will have ample on-site parking, and proposal is in line with our Lower Town strategic plan, which states that we create density, historical narrow single-family lots, protect the integrity of our Lower Town's unique and compact residential neighbourhoods. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, if we have anybody, did the applicant want to speak?
He is online.
And would he like to speak?
I don't think so.
Okay, that's fine. And do we have anybody else online or anybody in the gallery who would like to speak? No? Anybody online who would like to speak? I'm calling twice. Does anybody like to speak to this public hearing? And third time, anybody? Third and final time, I should say. Doesn't seem to be, so I'll call this public hearing closed unless council has any questions of staff. No? Okay, I'll call this public hearing closed. And I'll call to order the regular council meeting for Monday, February 13th, 2023. Corporate officer, any late items? No late items. If we can get approval of the agenda, please. Councillor Betts, Councillor Van Elfen, all in favor? That carries. And consent agenda, would anybody like to remove anything from the consent agenda? None. If I can get approval for the consent agenda. Councillor Betts and Van Elfen, all in favor? That carries. And now to the bylaws from the public hearing we just heard. And Ms. Tooney. Nope.
We don't have a presentation.
No further presentation.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so it's up to council if somebody want to bring forward a motion or Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The official community plan amendment bylaw number 2023-002 be read a third time and adopted. And that zoning amendment bylaw number 2023-003 be read a third time and adopted. Is that the one we're looking at?
That's correct. Yep. Well done. Seconder for that, Councillor Peak. Any discussion? Councillor Barkwell?
Just a point, it fits the plan for increased densification, but I think as we discussed before, I always, you look at that and you think it could be even denser. You could have more units, but maybe that will happen down the road, maybe it won't.
As a middle child, I'm curious to know whether the middle children will get the middle lots, but I guess I can't ask that question, but that'd be new information. So. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? And none opposed, that carries. Item number 6, Mayor's Report. Have to find it. On Friday, you may have heard the provincial government announced a one-time $1 billion in funding to be distributed to the 188 local governments in BC to address infrastructure demands. We are still waiting to hear how they will allocate the funds and how much we can expect to receive, but we do believe it will come without strings attached, which means we'll be able to use the money for any infrastructure project or projects that we decide. The province has acknowledged that its usual infrastructure funding programs are routinely heavily oversubscribed. For example, there are 6 times more requests to the community, culture, and recreation stream of the Investing in Canada infrastructure program than what's available. So this new money, which is called the Growing Communities Fund, is very welcome news. It supports our council priorities, and I think it shows a commitment from the province to invest in local infrastructure. It also demonstrates the cross-government cooperation that Minister Ann Kang spoke of when she visited Summerland last month. In other news, the Mayor's podcast is now streaming. You can access it from all popular podcast apps like Apple, Spotify, and Amazon, as well as the District of Summerland's website. The plan is to record one podcast every month. Each time I'll sit down with a different person of interest to discuss the relevant topic of the day. Deputy Mayor Traynor and I set the stage in the first episode by talking about council's priorities. The podcast, together with the new council highlights package, are in addition to our pre-existing communication channels like social media posts, website updates, the newsletter, and the newspaper column. People get their news and information in many different ways. It's not like the old days when everyone just picked up the newspaper, although a lot of people still do that. In today's world, we need to use a range of communication channels, old and new, to reach as many residents as possible. One of the true and tried methods of disseminating information is the town hall meeting or an open house. That was demonstrated the week before last on February 2nd when we had a good turnout to the budget open house at the Arena Banquet Hall. Thank you to staff for the informative displays and to the Director of Finance for his presentation. Excuse me. And thank you to all the members of the public who came to ask questions and provide their feedback. Also on the 2nd, Just prior to the budget open house, Councillor Barkwell and I attended a meeting of the newly formed Summerland chapter of the Men's Shed. The Men's Shed is a worldwide movement that expands the tradition of the backyard shed into a collaborative community space. It recognizes that many men, especially after they retire, have time on their hands and risk suffering from isolation and depression. The idea of the Men's Shed is to help men come together, stay productive, and contribute to the community, all of which are keys, all of which are key to good overall health. Men's Sheds chapters usually involve a space where they can work and keep their tools, and the new Summerland chapter is looking for such a space somewhere in the community. I should note the sheds serve as a gathering place primarily for men, but all are welcome. They also benefit the community by undertaking community projects and holding workshops and so forth. Also on the 2nd, prior to the budget open house and the Men's Shed meeting, Councillor Barklow and I attended the RDS board meeting. The board approved a number of resolutions to take to SILGA, including one to ask the Ministry of Health to provide additional funding to expand primary care networks to ensure they address healthcare needs closer to home so that people don't have to travel to another community to see a family doctor. Another resolution was to ask the province to restrict the commercial sale of plants identified as invasive species. The RDS is also reviewing its emergency management program and is asking residents in the region for their views on how the program is working and if they can identify any gaps. For anyone who would like to contribute to this process, they will be in Summerland at the Community Center on Brown Street this Sunday from 2 to 4 p.m. Sorry, geez, I have something in my throat. Finally, on February 3rd, I joined Councillor Betts, who is the council liaison to the Chamber of Commerce, for a coffee with Chamber President Luke Johnson. One of the things we talked about was organizing a joint meeting with council and the Chamber board, so that will be upcoming. We also talked about the Celebrate Summerland Family Day weekend events coming up this Saturday and Sunday. Like Light Up, this new event is another great example of the district and chamber working together to build an active and vibrant community. I hope to see everyone there. And I would just like to add that BC Business Magazine has placed Summerland in the top 10 of all BC municipalities in its annual rankings of best places in the province to work. The magazine used 10 indicators to evaluate including growth, employment, and housing, as well as social and environmental resiliency. So finally, people, the secret's out. Everyone knows about us now. And that's my report. Thanks. Oh, yes, continue on. CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tag team our way through this here tonight. Okay, so with Family Day quickly approaching, we have been working closely with the Chamber of Commerce this year to produce an extra special Family Day weekend. There's a host of options right here in Summerland with free activities happening all week, and with everything from free family photo scavenger hunt, free public swims and skating, including the free skate rentals. From face painting to family entertainment and music and artisan market and even food trucks, there are many options to choose from. Check out our website or the Thompson Okanagan Tourism Association website for more information. Changing tracks here, I wanted to let council know that we are still on schedule to roll out the BC Hydro credits this quarter. Just as a reminder, that will involve a $100 credit applied to the electricity bill of each qualifying residential account holder, with commercial ratepayers receiving a one-time credit based on their prior year electricity consumption. In addition, in part, given the removal of the 10% discount this year, council has directed us to match BC Hydro credit, meaning that those same residential customers will see a $200 credit on their bill. All the credits require manual processing And right now we are targeting to have those credits processed before the end of the month of February. Unfortunately, on February 6th, preamble messaging attached to the monthly e-bill statements contained an antiquated reference to the 10% discount. This messaging was built into our finance system many years ago, and during the transition away from the discount, it was unfortunately overlooked. Upon realizing our error, we quickly sent a correction notice to those customers so they are aware of the incorrect messaging. We sincerely regret if this caused any confusion for any residents. I'd like to acknowledge the good work of staff in running the 2023 budget open house February 2nd at the Summerland Arena Banquet Room. Staff from a host of departments volunteered their time to showcase hot topics such as roads, parks, recreation, and more. Many members of the public stopped by to interact with staff and council, and of course to hear the presentation by our finance director. Next year, we plan to augment this trade show format with additional staff, including the RCMP and bylaw, and additional opportunities for the public to volunteer, sign up for programs, learn about the district, and engage in open discussions. More to come on that in the months ahead. Finally, as noted in our news release late Friday afternoon, I am pleased to relay that we have been awarded a $150,000 grant from the Community Emergency Preparedness Fund, administered by the UBCM, for the design and construction of the Eisentalk Dam Spillway Upgrade Project. These funds support our work, including survey, geotechnical and environmental assessments, permits and approvals, and consultation. The detailed design portion of the project will cover the design and planning of the new spillway structure, channel protection, and the bridge crossing the Eisentalk Creek conveyance channel on the primary access road. With that, I conclude my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions for the CEO or myself on our reports? No? Okay, we'll move on to item number 8, the public comment opportunity. I'm just going to repeat what I said this afternoon. It's been pointed out to me that under our council procedure bylaw, the intention of the public comment period is for members of the public to provide comment. We usually have 4 comment opportunities, 2 in the afternoon meeting and 2 in the evening meeting. The first slot, comments must pertain to items on the agenda, excluding any items with a statutory requirement for public input, such as the public hearing we just had. The second slot is for comment on any matter of local government interest only. Total time allotted for each slot is 15 minutes. So there's a potential for a total of 1 hour available for public comment, both in the afternoon and evening meetings. There's a maximum of 2 minutes per speaker. That's in our bylaw. So we could theoretically have up to 28 people speaking over those 4 slots. As mayor, it's my responsibility to ensure we follow our procedure bylaw. I have not been enforcing the time limit, nor have I been enforcing that it's for public comments, not for questions. So I apologize for letting that slip, and I'll aim to correct it from now on. We have a new 2-minute clock up on the screen so everyone can see their time as they're speaking, and so that I don't have to be running a stopwatch. And while we're not taking any questions during the public comment period, I'm certainly happy to stick around after a meeting to answer any questions, and I'm sure a CAO would be happy to stick around, and I'm sure most councillors will be happy to stick around. And or you can always email us. And with that, I would like to invite anybody up to comment on anything that's on the agenda. No? Do we don't have anybody online? Okay. So we'll move on to development reports. Development variance permit at 6302 Victoria Road South, and our planning technician will take that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. The district has received a development variance application at 6302 Victoria Road South. This application is to allow for a carriage house to be placed outside of the farm home plate. The said property is zoned as A1 small agricultural and is within the ALR. The proposal conforms with the regulations laid out by the ALC to allow a secondary residence on agricultural land. The following site plans show the main house and the existing agricultural building where the secondary residence is proposed. The current home already fills the allowed 905 metre squared home farm plate area, as seen here. Within the A1 zoning, a carriage house is permitted as an accessory use with a maximum size of 90 square metres and must be located within that farm home plate. The property is designated agricultural under the official community plan, which seeks to support residential uses that meet the needs of the farmers, limit the impact of those residencies on farm operations, and encourages higher capability lands for farming. Within the A1 zoning, a carriage house, as I said, is permitted, and the maximum size is 90 square metres. The district's farm home plate regulations are as follows. 1 per lot, a maximum size of 905 square metres within the A1 zoning, with a maximum coverage within that area of 45%. Where possible, a 4-sided area can be created, as seen on the main residence. The location of this secondary residence is within an already existing agricultural building. This is going to limit agricultural land being used for a non-farm use. All services are already present with a new septic tank and field already in place, proposed in between the main residence and the agricultural building. This also helps allow the family to live on site to run both their farm and their carpentry business, which is located on the property. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Council, any questions? We don't have comment. We don't, no. Okay. Councillor Peak.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. My question is, will there be a separate driveway or that goes out to the road, or will it be a merged driveway, like going on to the present driveway and then one entrance that goes to the road?
Through the Mayor to Councillor Peak, yes, it will be a shared driveway as it is. The agricultural building is already existing, and so the driveway is already there and forks off one to the house and then down to the agricultural building where they already have parking stalls.
Excellent. May I have one other question? Thank you very much. My other thought was, this is in the present format, and what this family is considering is it'll be a family member in the carriage house. But in fact, the carriage house is there and could be used for housing for somebody who didn't work with the farm. Would that not be correct?
It could be, but the applicants have actually brought forward that it'll either be a family member, because they are quite a large family, or a farm worker during their busy season.
Yes, I understand that. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? There's none. If somebody wants to bring forward a motion, Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to bring forward the recommendation. Thank you.
We could probably, if we get on the screen, and if we get a seconder for that, Councillor Betts. We'll just get on the screen so we can all see what the motion actually says. Otherwise, Councillor Van Elfen will have to read it out. Yeah, we're getting ahead of ourselves there. Yeah, no. Yeah, that's it. Oh, yep, that's it there.
That's the recommendation I was bringing forward.
Okay, good. So any discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? And none opposed. That carries. Okay, item 9.2, zoning amendment bylaw for 12210 Lakeshore Drive South. That would be for our Director of Development Services.
Thank you, Worship. So the district is in receipt of a revised rezoning application to rezone 2 existing parcels at 12210 Lakeshore Drive from RSD1, a residential medium lot zone, to RDH, which is a residential duplex housing zone, with site-specific allowances in order to facilitate the construction of a new duplex building. Currently, the property is designated in the OCP as low-density residential, which accommodates duplex forms of housing as part of that designation. And it's for that reason, there's no OCP amendment as part of this proposal. The current zoning for the subject properties are RSD1, as mentioned. And the zoning bylaw request is to rezone to residential duplex housing with site-specific provisions. Specifically, they're looking to add the provision of duplex housing suites to our zoning bylaw to allow for basement suites to be constructed within the duplex building, as well to reduce the minimum lot areas and lot widths to fit the 2 existing parcels that are existing in Lower Town that are 7.5 meters wide. To also increase the floor area ratio of the duplex zoning to 0.93 in terms of density to allow for the 4 residential units to be constructed within this building. And then as well, site-specific provision for height to increase the height to 11.05 meters and 3 stories in total. And just for council's reference, this zoning request has changed from the previous proposal with the elimination of the front yard setback variance, which was another site-specific provision, as well as the step projections into the side yards and front yard. If that was another variance being requested, those 2 have been removed. So specifically with regards to the proposed duplex that's to be constructed, the design of the actual building hasn't changed too much, or really at all within the kind of the footprint of the building. It's still to be proposed as a duplex with suites. It's kind of a walk-up style coming from Lakeshore Drive with 2 stories facing the rear and then 3 stories facing Lakeshore Drive. The applicant has provided a new kind of conceptual rendering of what this building would look like from Lakeshore Drive, just for council's benefit. In terms of zoning comparison to the existing RSD1 zoned lot, the lot area required for RSD1 is 460 square meters. Proposed is 524 square meters. Again, that's to fit the 2 existing lots that are currently within Lower Town, and a 50% allocation to each of the parcels that are located in that in Lower Town. And then also for lot width, required is 12, and the proposed RDH site specific is 15.2. Again, 50% allocated to each duplex unit. Mentioned floor area ratio increasing from 0.45 to 0.93 already, and then as well the height increase from 9.5 to 11.05. The floor plan hasn't changed from what was previously proposed. Main units are the 2 stories coming off the rear with a rooftop patio to be provided for those 2 main units for the duplexes. And then as well at the basement level, still holding the secondary suites for each of the duplex units. And those would be primarily accessed off the front. Mentioned already the building height. Primarily the increase to building height is due to the rooftop patios and the vestibule that is encroaching further than the flat roof. And that's the reason why it is being requested to go to 3 stories as well as 11.05. So just for council's benefit on history here, the previous design, as mentioned, had the side steps into the setback. This is the previous proposal, as well as parking. All parking and access was coming off the rear lane. That's been changed, and a front setback variance, and so of the previous proposal. And this was provided first and second reading by council, but was denied at the following the public hearing at third reading on November 2022. So just to review the revised site plan, now the parking for the 2 basement suites are proposed to be coming off Lakeshore Drive. As well, the removal of the side steps and as well the front yard setback variance has been removed from the site-specific zoning request. Staff does note, though, that this isn't completely conforming with our driveway access bylaw with regards to preferring road accesses to come off of a lower level road than a collector road, which is Lakeshore Drive is considered a collector. So there may be a requirement for a variance for a driveway access bylaw in the future. In terms of streetscape, you can see that the applicant has provided these kind of visuals to show how it would compare to the current built form along Lakeshore Drive. You can see there's a comparable 3-story single family dwelling located to the south of this building, around the same height being proposed here. In terms of the official community plan, the district's OCP encourages a range and diversity of housing options and to diversify from the predominantly single-family housing stock that we have currently in our urban areas with access to community services. In addition, staff feel that the allowance of suites provide an opportunity for low-cost housing that can add to the district's affordable housing supply. The OCP also encourages residential growth in areas that avoid natural and hazardous areas, as well as wildfire risk, which also meets for the subject property. In terms of density, the designation of low-density residential prescribes 22 units per hectare, and the staff notes that the proposed duplex building does equate to 38 units per hectare in the total density being proposed. But staff also note that the current provisions of zoning allowing a single family dwelling plus a suite on either parcel would be equivalent to the 4 units being requested as part of this zoning request. I'm not going to go through the internal comments, but they're provided in the report for council's benefit. In terms of APC comments, we re-presented this revised proposal to the Advisory Planning Commission in January. And generally, the comments from APC were in support of the proposal, given that it was consistent with the similar built form in Lower Town. There were some questions from APC members as to what occurred at the public hearing and also the council deliberation in November, as some members felt that the previous proposal was better in that it prevented access off of Lakeshore Drive, but wasn't unanimous on that front. But regardless, APC resolved to provide support to the zoning bylaw being requested tonight. And then finally, with regards to the discussion, staff notes that this proposal aligns with our growth management policies of the OCP to promote infill development in serviced areas. We, again, as mentioned, we feel that the basement suites are a way to gently diversify our housing options within our community and provide perhaps some more affordable suites within the district. Staff also know the density is similar to what is currently found in Lower Town, and as well would be allowed even if this rezoning is not approved, with 2 single families dwellings as well as 2 suites. And as well, staff also notes that the applicant has made efforts to revise their plans to reflect the concerns made by the public and by council previously, with specifically parking and access being the primary concern. And with that, staff is recommending that we give first and second reading, and as well that a public hearing be scheduled for March 13th. Happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brad. Any questions from council? Councillor Peak.
Thank you, Your Worship. Brad, with the removal of the side steps, my memory said there was a bit of conflict with the neighbor because of those steps. Does that eliminated in part with the changes?
Through your worship, to Councillor Peak, I don't think, not entirely. I believe there is some encroachment from the north property owner onto the south property owner's property, which is probably of concern to the current landowner and the applicant of this proposal. So there might be some need for alterations on the land because of this proposal.
Any other questions? If none, would somebody like to bring a motion forward? Councillor Betts, as recommended. Yeah, Councillor Barkwell, second. Any discussion? So we'll hear from the public on the 13th. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? And none opposed. That carries. No bylaws for adoption, no business rising. Does anybody have a notice of motion? Don't see any. No items removed from the consent agenda. Councillor reports. Does anybody have a report? No? Okay. Now we have the public comment period. Does anybody, members of the public, have anything to comment? No, Marianne? No? Jeez. Check out her new system. Okay, then I'll call for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Peak, Councillor Barkwell, all in favor? And that carries.